X-Men Days of Future Past begins in the year of our Lord and Saviour, 2023, in which humanity has been exterminating mutants off the face of the earth and now live in a decaying post-apocalyptic wasteland. Did we miss something?
We all have to die sometime.
Okay, so basically what happened is that in 1973, Mystique murdered a scientist called Bolivar Trask, played by Peter Dinklage, as revenge for him abducting and experimenting on mutants. However, she was captured and a shape-shifting DNA was used to build a bunch of giant Terminators called Sentinels, which can adapt to any mutant superpower, making them basically invincible. And if Origins is anything to go by, if something is invincible, try shooting at them.
Is the future truly set?
Fast forward 50 years and the Sentinels have almost successfully wiped out all mutants and the remaining X-Men band together to try and stop them. It turns out that Kitty Pryde, which sounds like a Bond girl, can now send people's consciousness back in time. Did we miss something?
No.
Leading to Wolverine being sent back to 1973 so that he can reunite Xavier and Magneto's younger selves in order to stop Mystique from killing Trask, thereby saving mutant kind and preventing the Sentinels from ever being created, because if superhero movies have taught me anything, it's that if the franchise is going downhill, time travel will definitely save it.
Or something like that.
Despite being viewed as a culmination of the entire X-Men franchise, this film was actually intended to be the third in a trilogy. After the critical and commercial success of First Class, director Matthew Vaughn pitched his treatment for a new X-Men trilogy consisting of the aforementioned First Class, a second film set in the 70s which would introduce younger versions of Wolverine, Storm, Jean Grey and Cyclops, and then a third adapting the Days of Future Past storyline from the comics, combining the younger and older cast from the original trilogy. However, when Fox were presented with these plans, they decided to skip the second film altogether and go straight into Days of Future Past, which annoyed Vaughn so much that he quit the film in protest. When I finished the Days of Future Past script with it ready to go, I looked at it and said, I really think it would be fun to cast Tom Hardy or someone as the young Wolverine and then bring it all together at the end. Fox read Days of Future Past and went, oh, this is too good, we're doing it now. That's one of the reasons I didn't continue, because they didn't listen to me. Hollywood doesn't understand pacing. Their executives are driving 100 miles per hour looking in the rearview mirror and not understanding why they crash.
Suck it, Fox.
Vaughn then left the franchise to make Kingsman the Secret Service instead, though he remained credited for the story as a number of his planned ideas were kept in the finished film, such as the backdrop of the Vietnam War and Magneto being responsible for the Kennedy assassination. With Vaughn gone, Fox hired Simon Kinberg, who wrote The Last Stand, to write a new screenplay and turned to their favourite paedophile, Bryan Singer, to come back to direct the series that he had started over a decade prior. I swear to God, nobody likes Bryan Singer, but yet they keep bringing him back, like the Saw movies.
For research purposes, of course.
However, the film also made some changes to the original Days of Future Past storyline. In the comic, it was actually Kitty Pryde herself who went back in time to try and stop the Dark Future, but the filmmakers switched this to Wolverine as they felt he was more recognisable, and due to his healing factor, they reasoned that he would be the only one able to make the trip.
They're gonna make him do this till he's 90.
For the portrayal of time travel in the film, Singer stated that he wanted it to be rooted in the concept of string theory, wherein an object only begins to exist when it is observed by an external force. Until an object is observed, it hasn't really happened yet. The time traveller whose consciousness travels through time, I call the observer. And until the observer returns to where he travelled from, the result hasn't occurred yet. See, he can muck about in the past, and it isn't until he snaps back that the new future is set. As a result, we have parallel action, and there's underlying tension, because there's always the threat that Wolverine's consciousness could return to the future and leave the world in an even darker place.
Or something like that.
Singer also cited the likes of Back to the Future, The Time Machine, Looper, Men in Black 3, and the first two Terminator films as influences on the movie's time travel mechanics. He even met with James Cameron for a 2-hour conversation to discuss how time travel could be implemented into the story. Yeah, if you're looking for consistent time travel mechanics, James Cameron is really not the person you want to talk to. As for casting, it was quickly announced that not only would the First Class actors be returning, but also many of the cast members from the original trilogy. In doing so, the movie actively retconned First Class into a prequel to the first three, rather than its original intention as a reboot. Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen were particularly surprised to be coming back, as they had assumed they had grown too old and had said goodbye to their characters forever. Yeah, so much for that. But were nonetheless delighted to return. The happened to my hair? Filming began in August 2013 in Montreal and wrapped the next February, but a big problem quickly presented itself. In April 2014, just a month before the movie's planned release date, Bryan Singer was accused of sexual assault of a minor by actor Michael Egan. Egan claimed that the director drugged and raped him at a party in Hawaii hosted by convicted sex offender Mark Collins Rector in the late 1990s. Singer vehemently denied the accusation, and though the lawsuit was dismissed in September 2015, 2014, the resulting controversy caused Singer to completely pull out of the movie's promotional junket. Not the only thing Singer was pulling out of by the sounds of it.
What?
X-Men Days of Future Past was eventually released on May the 23rd, 2014, and was a huge hit at the box office, raking in $747 million worldwide, making it the highest grossing film in the franchise, until it was surpassed by the 3 Deadpool films. Critical reception was also hugely positive, praising the acting, action, effects, story, and the blending of the old and new casts. Fans often rate it as one of, if not the best movie in the franchise, and it also became the first X-Men film to be nominated for an Oscar, specifically for Best Visual Effects. Admittedly enough, the cool opening credits are back, and the Iceman special effects are pretty awesome. In fact, all of the effects are great. The visuals are amazing. The movie opens up with a really intense action scene, which is really well done, but considering I've not given a shit about any of these characters for the past 6 movies, it's hard to, well, give a shit. But hey, at least Halle Berry's hair looks real this time.
Well, then we leave before they ever know we were there.
Because we never were.
What do you mean you were never there?
She projects Bishop back in time a few days to warn the others of the coming attack.
I just love how casually they discuss time travel now. Oh yeah, we can send people back in time now. Yeah, anyway, what's new with you?
I knew her as Raven. We met when we were children, grew up together.
I really should have mentioned this to you all sooner, but I guess I forgot. My biggest question is, why haven't they used time travel before? I guess you could argue that Kitty didn't know that she could time travel back in X3, but if that's the case, why don't they ever use it again? And why aren't I as bored watching this one?
What if someone can heal as fast as they're ripped apart?
Ah, Deadpool.
Wolverine. Deadpool.
No, stop it! When Logan first wakes up back in the 70s, he's on a waterbed. Gee, this mutant with claws that retracts from his hands is on a waterbed. I have no idea where this is.
The hell?
I will admit, the film does win me over a lot more than the others, and it has some really funny moments.
Are you a parent?
Sure as hell hope not.
There is a generic scene that's in every time travel movie ever where Logan has to try to convince Xavier that he knows who he is, but it is pretty well done. McAvoy is a great Charles. His performance is fantastic. You can tell that he's completely torn up by the betrayal of Mystique and feels like he has nothing left to live for. It's also really cool how, unlike the previous movies where Charles was always the mentor to Logan, this time it's Logan's turn to be a mentor to Charles. How has this one got more character development than any of the last 6? Wait a minute. Am I enjoying myself? I forgot what this is like, it's a miracle! We get Quicksilver in this one playing ping pong by himself, and it is pretty weird that he's played by Kick-Ass's best friend, and then the next year Kick-Ass himself played the part. But he does a great job, he's a lot of fun and has so much charisma. There's a scene where he slows down time to save everyone from some guards, and I can't lie, this scene is genuinely fantastic. Using slow motion to show super speed is quite cliche now, but for its time, this is actually really creative and fun. You even get more characterization from Magneto as he opens up to Charles about Mystique. What's all this then? I'm having a good time! I also love how a bloke who can control minds and a savage blue beast find the concept of time travel just a wee bit far-fetched. Charles ends up breaking down at Eric over being abandoned by him in the last movie, and I really can't praise McAvoy enough. He's phenomenal at this. In fact, I'd even say that he's better than Stewart. Hugh Jackman is great again in this, but then we get a flashback to bloody Jean. Jean. Yeah, him being experimented on is on the same level as losing a redhead nobody likes.
Storm. Scott.
Oh, so you do remember Scott? Wait, why don't they time travel to save Scott? How did Xavier resurrect but Scott can't? Why did Jean get 2 death scenes? And why am I enjoying this? Young Magneto is also pretty damn badass. Fassbender nails this role, even if he is no Gandalf. In fact, there's a scene towards the end where the older Magneto and Xavier reconcile as the Sentinels close in, and it's honestly really emotional seeing these old friends finally make peace and brace themselves for the end after so many years of fighting each other. How is this movie getting me to care so much? As much as I do like this one though, I do think it's a bit overly long and stretched out, but admittedly that's my attention span. Oh, and we get Scott with 2 eyes again. Because we can't have Cyclops be a Cyclops! This will shock you all given how I felt about all of the other X-Men movies, but this is actually pretty damn good. Yeah, they finally did it. It took 7 goddamn tries, but they finally managed to put out a good X-Men movie. I'm as surprised as you. It does drag at points and there are some pretty noticeable plot holes, but the acting is still mostly excellent.
That's not my name.
I said mostly. The character development is strong, the action and visuals are top notch, and for once I was actually invested in the characters and their struggles. It's not a movie I'm gagging to revisit anytime soon, but after 6 films of either mediocrity or dog shit, even a 7 out of 10 can feel like a very pleasant surprise, which definitely won't be ruined by the next one, right? Right?